This is a continuation of our reading of an article from the Reformed Presbyterian, Volume 2, published in June of 1838, entitled Instrumental Music in Divine Worship. From the fact that instrumental music has gone hand in hand with error and other affiliated abuses of God's word in worship, we infer that there is no truth in what is affirmed in their own defense by those who practice it. They insist that instrumental music in the church excites the devotional feelings and stirs up the pious emotions of the worshiper, solemnizes the mind, and fills it with sentiments of reverence proper for the house and service of God. A reply to this assertion shall be our fourth and concluding remark. That grand and harmonious strains of music have a deep and powerful effect upon the passions of the human heart, none can doubt. The marital spirit of the soldier kindles at the sound of the drum and the trumpet. The shrill tones of the pibroch, resounding among his native hills, awaken the slumbering energies of the Highland clansman. The Swiss exile, as he listens to the simple music of his native land, recalls its delightful scenes, until the stern soldier weeps at the recollection. And who has not felt emotions, lively or soothing, tender or animated, stirring within him by the melodies of music? But is this devotion? Are these pious feelings? Yet in what do they differ but in the place in which they are excited, or in the instrument that calls them forth from the emotions awakened by the echoes of the organ or the shrill tone of the bass viol? If it be indeed true that the organ, etc., produce effects so happy and desirable as those claimed for them, then surely we will find more true devotion and more strongly marked Christian affections in those churches where the forms of worship are so contrived as to operate the most powerfully upon the senses. Where do we find such a ritual? The Papists have it. Does any Protestant believe that pious feeling and devotional sentiments are most abundant in popish cathedrals and mass houses? Is the Episcopal Church, either in England or America, very distinguished for the enlarged and ardent piety of its members and adherents? Does any intelligent Christian believe that the Congregationalists of New England or the Presbyterians of the United States are now more devout and godly and consistent than were their fathers of a century ago before instrumental music was introduced? Is there more piety in the cities, where they have the noblest churches and most splendid organs, than in remote districts where they walk in the good old way? Do we find the deepest reverence for the Scriptures, the most diligent study of their contents, and the most punctual attendance upon divine ordinances, the most family prayer, the most consistent Christian deportment, the strongest evidences of deep, pervading devotional feeling among those who worship God by organs and choirs, or among those who discard all such trappings of human invention? Do the crowds that frequent these theatrical churches manifest by the gravity of their conduct, the heavenliness of their spirits, the pious strains of their conversation, and the godliness in their daily walk, the sanctifying influences of true religion? If we do not find the traits of Christian character presented in bold relief among that class of worshippers, where shall we go? Not to draw our examples from what we see and know in our own day, which might seem invidious, let us refer to Scotland in the distant days of her glorious Reformation and sad persecutions. For intelligent views of divine truth, for ardent zeal in the cause of God and the rights and liberties of man, for heroic devotion to the crown rights and royal prerogatives of Messiah, for unwearied sympathy toward the afflicted, for strong faith and unflinching courage in the day of trial, who will venture to compare with them, their degenerate sons? Yet they had no instruments of music to excite their devotions. They were none of your cold, lifeless Sabbath-day Christians. They carried their religion into their domestic, social, and civil transactions. Knox and Henderson, Cargill and Renwick, with a host of their coadjutors, were men that would have honored any land and any time. Let us be followers of them as they were of Christ. Let them thankfully and prayerfully improve the pure and simple, but by the divine blessing powerfully efficacious ordinances of the Lord's own institution.